Good morning and welcome to Will My PPP Loan Be Forgiven? Thanks for joining us. It's hard to believe. This is number 4 weeks in a row with more new and exciting information. My name is Brian Schill and I'm the Executive Director for the Peters Township Chamber of Commerce, and facilitating with me today is Kelly Keene, our Operations Coordinator. Just a little bit about the Chamber as usual. We're a 501c6 membership-based nonprofit, and our funding primarily is composed of each member's annual investment and our events and sponsorships. Our mission is to provide connections, opportunities, partnerships, and resources to grow our businesses and serve our communities. We promote, advocate, connect, and educate. And in addition to the Peters, our area of coverage also includes the South Hills and Northern Washington County. So joining us again this week, number 4 is Glenn Main, the managing partner at the Main Point Group, a former CPA, a longtime chamber member. He lives right here in McMurray. His family owns multiple businesses. He's a consultant to business owners all over the U.S. So we decided to do this because we continuously receive questions regarding PPP, and as most of you are well aware, it changes almost daily. So right at the beginning, we turned to Glenn, who is a noted national expert, and voila, here we are again with number 4. So again, our goals, just like usual, are to just a real brief review. Glenn will give us an update, and then we hope to spend a lot of time answering your questions. So a little Zoom 101. We would ask everyone to please remain muted during the entire update to eliminate the background noise. This is recorded and will be available on our website after today. And if you'd like to ask a question, please use the chat feature. It's at the bottom of your screen. So at this point, I'm going to give it to you, Glenn.
Hey, thanks, Brian and Kelly. How are you doing today?
Awesome.
Thank you.
Pretty good. Thank you. Brian, we're going to have to change your spiel about the coverage area being the South Hills and add California and Texas and other places around the planet. I think from what I can tell, it's amazing. It's wonderful. And Darla and I and a couple folks in our family got to go to South Carolina over the weekend, and the rest of you probably know, if you've ventured out of Pennsylvania, that all states are not created equal. The further you go south, the more progressive it gets, which is kind of strange, right? Because the Northeast is always a place that prides itself on being progressive, but it's the opposite right now. The Northeast is all locked down, and you go south and it gets really, I wouldn't say normal, but it's much more normal feeling. You can go actually sit in a restaurant and have a meal or out in the patio. I got my second haircut in the past 70 days, which still feels like 70 years. This time it was a 10-hour round trip, 10 hours each way. The first illegal haircut was 2 hours each way. So I'm building on it. I'm building on it. And the little barbershop it was cool. You can go in a barbershop, you can get a haircut, you don't have to wear a mask. And it was like Floyd's barbershop in Andy and Mayberry. It was great. So the conversation among all the men, no women, was really interesting around the old Coke machine. And I paid for the guy's haircut in front of me, kind of a pay it forward thing. And so I paid for 2 haircuts, his and mine, for less than the haircut I paid for around here. So that was kind of fun. Anyway, I'm going to suck my buddies, co-conspirators here. Steve McCarron, who's a senior vice president at Community Bank and has been a great, great friend and helped through this whole process. We probably talk at least 2 times a day, maybe once on some days. And Matt McCowiak, am I saying it right, Matt? Say your name, last name.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yep, Makowiak.
I got it right.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Matt's our budding United States Senator. Okay, he is doing an absolutely fabulous job. I spent 2 hours on the phone and webinars yesterday. 1 hour with the leadership in Arizona. Interesting folks. I know the governor down there really well, and so I get to get in on some stuff, and they're just shocked at how Pennsylvania is so behind the curve. And then Matt arranged for me to talk to Chief of Staff for Senator or Representative, I guess, U.S. Representative Guy Reschenthaler, and Matt's in his office. And then who was the lady we talked to, Matt? What's Emily's position in D.C.?
Emily is Deputy Chief of Staff and the Legislative Director. So she directs all the legislative operations.
Okay, great. So she would interface between Guy Reschenthaler's office and the Congress, in effect. That's her job.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I got to do my best Billy Graham impression yesterday with her, and it's really interesting. I'm going to have Steve talk about this a little bit, but some amazing stuff happened yesterday morning. Congress got involved, really the House, and passed wasn't it 417 to 1, Matt? I think it was unbelievable.
417
It was only one person.
Yep.
Yeah, it was almost like you guys watch the news, right? I mean, that just doesn't happen. It's crazy. And it relates to the PPP loan program. So you guys are going to be dancing a jig for this weekend. It's really, really good stuff. And of course, the House is so polarized. It's unbelievable. And we saw them come together. So that tells me a couple things. They don't actually like each other any more than they did day before yesterday. But I think they both realize the political reality that they're messing with America, right? They're messing with everybody on this call. And if they dismantle the small businesses in America, the political price is going to be pretty heavy. So, keep up the cards and letters and well wishes to your Congress people, because they're listening. And I'm doing my best. I asked for a call with Senator Toomey and Senator Rubio, so we'll see what they do. Anyway, okay, so like I said, it's been 70 days, if you can believe it. I don't know about anybody else. It sure feels like 70 years or more. I think I've aged 70 years in the 70 days. It's craziness right now. We're going to, just plain speak today, right? This isn't wonky. This isn't CPA speak. It's not lawyer speak, which is a lot going on out there, and it's confusing to most people. So we'll try not to do that. Remember what we're trying to do. 2 simple things. The reason for this series, and it is a series, and we thought it was an 8-week series. The good news, bad news, it's just gotten longer because of what happened yesterday. So you're either stuck with us or happy to be with us on an ongoing basis as we get through this thing. But there's 2 goals. Number 1, Matt and Brian and Kelly and Steve and I are going to be terribly disappointed if everybody on the call or everybody who comes to the webinars doesn't get 100% forgiveness of the loan. Like I've been saying for a long time, no business owner that I've ever talked to, and I talked to a lot of them, hundreds of them, clients and non-clients, of course, but nobody says, geez, I wanted a loan from the federal government. Nobody wants the loan. They don't want a loan even at 1%, even 2 years. They just want to have a forgivable loan, okay? So number 2, and not go to jail, not be fined $1 million, not be hassled about it, because that's been discussed. So get the loan forgiven, make it relatively painless, all right? So the thing we started talking about last week that I want to emphasize for everybody is I think that this too will pass, right? So we'll get through this if we just hang on together and figure it out and get through the nonsense, just like everything else you have to deal with in business. So let us help you. Join the chamber. That's the best thing you can do to help the chamber so they can afford to keep putting this on. But start thinking about the future. Stop worrying about PPP. We'll get you through it. We'll keep the tools coming. I want you to start thinking about the future, because your business may be dead in the water. I mean, that's not a prediction, but clearly some businesses are dead in the water. If you have a restaurant, if you have a hotel, if you're in the travel business, there's certain kind of businesses I think that it's going to be hard to come back from. I mean, most people I hear talking about it say that if the restaurant isn't 75% full, that's zero profit, right? So I don't know how much money you have or how many resources you have, but if you have unlimited outside resources and you want to have that restaurant open and take the time, but it may take a long time to get back to 75%. I hope not. I pray not. But think about retail. Retail is dead. I mean, if our governor won't let somebody come into your establishment, you can't sell anything at that establishment. So what's happening is everything's moving online, e-commerce. So if you're retail and you don't know anything about e-commerce, online, all of that, and I'm no tech person. So find somebody under 30 years old, or Kelly, who is slightly over 30, maybe 31 or 32, Kelly? But anyway, she's a tech guru. Find tech people that can help you get your business online. People are getting used to it. They're kind of liking it. Amazon does all their business online, right? So get your business online. You can do it. But you may not be able to get your business online. You may not be able to do any of your business online. So what are you going to do? So think that through. And my idea is to start talking about that as a separate webinar or as an additional webinar to what we're doing here with PPP. Okay, so pivoting now is going to be really, really important as the economy starts to open back up for you. I think we talked about this enough. You've gotten your loan, hopefully, presumably. You have the money in the bank, hopefully in a dedicated account. You know that there's a period of time that up until yesterday looked like 8 weeks. It looks like it's going to be longer. That's good news. And you have to spend it on specified things. You cannot spend this money on anything you want. That's illegal. It breaks the law, which has a consequence. So the lady that we found out from a banker that got $23,000 in PPP funds immediately paid off her line of credit and bought meat for her freezer with the $7,000 balance. She broke the law. That's concerning. I'm sure she didn't mean to break the law, but she did. So that is not a good thing, right? So be careful. There's certain categories that you all know about: payroll cost, rent, utilities, and interest that you can spend it on. Okay, so I'm going to get my buddy Steve involved because I've talked enough, and our goal today is to get to Q&A quickly. Steve, would you mind talking about what Congress has apparently done as of yesterday? Because if the House passed this thing 417-1, it's pretty predictable the Senate will run it through because the Senate isn't as divided. Okay, do you mind doing that, Steve?
Yeah, sure, Glenn. I can do that. And I think that with what the House passed yesterday, it certainly gives small business owners some more flexibility with the program, specifically personal care businesses, restaurant businesses, these businesses that have either been, only recently reopened, or in some cases, like hair salons aren't even open yet. And this program certainly gives those folks some more flexibility. So there were basically 5 key takeaways from the House's Act. First is that your covered period, which, as we have talked about the last couple weeks, is an 8-week period, would be extended from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. So that's certainly, so basically, instead of having to spend the money over 2 months, you'll be able to spend the money over 6 months. And in addition to that, instead of having to rehire all your people by June 30th, you would have until December 31st to rehire people back. So again, some more flexibility. The second big item that the House passed yesterday is that previously you had to spend 75% of the funds on payroll. With what the House passed, that would now be reduced to 60%. Therefore, 60% would now have to be spent on payroll and 40% on non-payroll items. So that's certainly a big change from what had originally been passed. And then loan terms, as far as the part of your loan that's not forgiven, instead of having to pay back the loan in 2 years, you would now have 5 years to pay that loan back. So for that portion that's unforgiven, it certainly gives a small business lower payments going forward, which should be a help. And then finally, the last bullet point, I don't know, I apologize, I'm not a tax accountant, but what it refers to is that I believe that right now there is a tax credit that small businesses can apply for in regards to their payroll taxes. But as of today, the IRS had basically come out and said that if you had a PPP loan, you were ineligible to get that tax credit. However, under what the House has proposed, that would now be allowed. A small business owner would be allowed to apply for a tax credit or a tax deferment in regards to their payroll taxes based on these changes. So those were kind of the five big bullet points that the House passed yesterday with flying colors. And it's definitely anticipated that the Senate will probably do the same, maybe make some minor tweaks here and there, but that's what we're hearing right now.
Hey, that's awesome, Steve. That's good. You added some information I wasn't aware of. I just had a summary. So thank you so much. We're actually getting some wonderful questions here. So let's just do Q&A. Okay, let's just do the rest of the time. That'll be almost 40 minutes today. And like Kelly said, and we've promised to you before, ask away, because as Steve knows, as Matt knows, and Brian and Kelly, if you have to go hire the expertise that's represented on this call today, a typical attorney, because I pay people like this and I'm out of my business like my clients do, a tax attorney can range from $500 to $600 an hour. The one I use is $595 an hour. And people pay that because it's worth it. Okay, that's why they pay that much. An accountant is $300 to $500 an hour typically. I mean, I'm talking about our region. If you went to Manhattan, these prices are 2 to 3 times that amount, or DC. So you're getting the bargain of a century for your dues, because we're going to do this for as long as it takes, and it's no extra price. And I would dare say, Steve and Matt can comment, but you're getting real-time data here and information at the level that some of these attorneys and accountants don't even have access to. So it's pretty exciting. So I'm just going to go down through some of the chats. Is that okay, Kelly, or do you want to do it, or what's better?
Glenn, you're welcome.
I'm going to let Brian go ahead and facilitate the questions this morning.
Glenn, you're
Okay.
welcome to run through those, because that way, you know, it's probably even easier maybe for you since you have them right there. So you're welcome.
Okay. Yeah, I actually figured out how to look at it. Okay, I'm going to assume, unless somebody says don't do that, that I can sort of figure out whose name matches what business. I think it's these are great, by the way, and I appreciate it. It's good for everybody to see what everybody else is dealing with, because everybody's dealing with similar things, but everybody's different too. So you might have a question. We might have a question here from Alan Berliner at Anytime Fitness, right? So think of the fitness business. Think of what he's dealing with. And it says, could you please explain exactly what the new 24-week window means? So you guys are ahead of the curve. You know what's going on. This is great. Is it the same 8-week window as before, but anytime within a 24-week period? Or is it all payroll and rent and utilities spent within the 24 weeks? Thank you for your best clarification at this time. And I appreciate that last little comment. We're still guessing a little bit, right? Because this isn't law, but it looks to be law. So we're hopeful. I think you have to follow what we have in place, but this is hopeful. It takes some pressure off. So Steve, would you like to comment on that? Do you think it's 24 weeks to spend the money, or is it 8 weeks within the 24-week sort of time period? What do you think it is, Steve?
Yeah, my estimate is that you would have 24, you would have, in this scenario, you would have 24 weeks from when you were funded to spend the money. That would be my interpretation. Although, you know, when the law passes, the conversely, you know, the government might come out and say, hey, look, you can use the money within 24 months or 24 weeks, but it's only got to be over an 8-week period. So I could see where it could go either way. My thought today, sitting here just thinking about it, that's actually an excellent question.
That's a really good question. Yep.
And you know what, Matt, I don't know if Matt, do you have any insight into what the thought process there was?
I don't. Like a lot of this, it's been ambiguous, and I don't know if that's been done on purpose or, you know, that I don't have anything else besides what you were saying, and that's what it looks like from the outset. But I'm still in contact with all of our committee folks too, and I can ask them for more clarification on that. I don't even know if they have answers on that yet.
Yeah.
Just because this was kind of pushed through quickly, so I don't think
Yeah.
they have the finite details.
Yeah, like everything else, right, Matt? So let's do, Katrina asked another wonderful question. She's at Huntington Learning Center, so think about her business and the pressure she has. So Katrina says, do we have an expected date when the Senate will vote next week? Timing on this can impact how we use staff in June, since we're knocking on the door, right? While we were not at full operation. So it's pretty darn hard to hire people. You can't just flip a switch, right? And get them in there and pay them when what do you use them for, right? This is an acute problem with, for example, hair salons. That's why I talk about my haircut, because I got to do everything I can to look good for these webinars, right? And so what are you supposed to do? You know, Steve referred a very, very nice lady for me to help out. She has 17 folks, the ladies that work in her beauty salon business. None of them can come to work. And they're all saying, wait a minute, I'm making more money on unemployment anyway, because it's higher than what you pay me. I don't know if I want to go back to work anyway. So there's, you know, one of the problems here, Matt, is there's cross purposes even within the law that's actually working against PPP. So this is one thing I'm going to tell Emily about. So Katrina, I don't think we know the answer. Matt, do you have any ideas? Senate scheduled to vote next week, or do you know?
Yeah, I'm more in tune with the House schedule. They anticipate voting on it when they come into session next week. Now that could be as soon as they get into session, or it could be delayed because of further debate. Who knows? That a lot can change within the chamber. So I don't think they're going to put a.
I think if I was guessing, Katrina, I would feel comfortable enough to assume that this is going to happen within the next week or so. Like, I'd put more bets on the Senate than I would on the House when you met.
Yeah.
So I'd feel fairly comfortable thinking that I had time now, because that was the whole problem, right? People couldn't deploy their funds. Whoever BUU4 is, could you tell us? I don't know who that is, but BUU4 asked, as I move money from my bank account with the PPP loan to my bank account from which I pay my team salaries, should I only document the gross pay, right? Or can I include the federal, state, and local payroll taxes? This is a phenomenal question that is very muddy in terms of logistics, but it's critical. So I can tell you the answer. First of all, it's super important to understand this concept. It's an accounting or bookkeeping concept. We recommended all along, still recommend, that you place the money from the PPP loan in a separate account so you can keep it out of your regular account. However, it is now the best thinking among tax attorneys, CPAs, and so forth, consultants, business advisors like us, that you should do what BUU4 is doing, which is paying all the expenses from your regular account. Don't mess with your regular account. You probably have a payroll service drawing the money out and so forth. So just go ahead and pay salaries, rent, interest, utilities. Pay them like you always pay them. And then some accountants, bookkeepers, and so forth are worried or fastidious about trying to move an exact amount from their dedicated PPP account over as soon as they pay a bill or a payroll from their regular account, if I'm not making this too complicated. That is not necessary, because all you're actually doing is just reimbursing your regular account. So there's nothing wrong as long as you know that you've documented enough to qualify for forgiveness, which is not easy. I understand that. But if you're tracking on a spreadsheet, on software built for this, if you're tracking your expenses, you can move money when you need to over, and it doesn't have to match the amount exactly, okay? If this has gotten way too confusing, just send me an email at our website, okay, www.themainpoint.com. If you need help with this, we will help you with it, okay? So the additional question or fine point of the question is it gross or net? The answer is it's gross. So if you get a payroll report and you paid somebody $1,000 and their net check was $800 after they're withholding, 401k contributions, all that kind of stuff, you ignore all of that. You choose the gross pay only, okay? Very, very, very important. So it's actually easier that way. Mark Grant, let's see if I know who's Mark. Oh, Lendio. I'm guessing that's a lending company. I'm not sure. Okay, Mark says, if you use the PPP loan to pay salaries, what do they do if they do not have utilities, leases, or rents with the extra 0.5 of the loan amount businesses receive? Are you saying that they can't use it for anything else? So Another excellent question. So ideally, you have to use a certain percentage for salaries. We now know that that's going to be lowered to 60% instead of 75%. But there's a lot of businesses that can use it for 100% of their PPP loan. That would be ideal. It's cleaner, it's easier, it just makes life easier. So if you have a way, because that's what Congress was trying to do, right? They were trying to use it for payroll protection, not really utilities and stuff. I think they were trying to be nice and give people extra money, but I think it makes it harder. So if you can deploy all of it for salaries, use all of it for salaries. And if you have 24 weeks, we think, to use it instead of 8, I think most people will actually get there with salaries. So there's a lot of businesses that really don't have utilities, leases, and rents. I have a Schedule C business among my businesses, and I'm going to just use it all in salaries. I can use it all in salaries. I don't pay rents out of that business or utilities. I pay it out of another business that's a building management company. So I'm just going to use it for salaries. Are you saying they can't use it for anything else? Correct. You cannot use the money legally for any other purpose. It has to be salaries, rent, leases, and interest. Okay, Chrissy.
Glenn, could I make just a quick?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Over the weekend, the SBA did provide a interim financial rule, which is basically a fancy term for more guidance. And
Okay.
What they basically said is that you can pay your employees bonuses. You can pay your employees hazard or COVID-19 pay. You can do that as long as it does not exceed basically a monthly threshold. Let's just put it this way: a monthly threshold of roughly $7,500. Just to break it down simplistically. So if your employee is making $1,000 a month and you wanted to bump them up to $2,000 a month, and call it a COVID-19 bonus or a hazard work bonus, you can do that. That is definitely allowed now under the program. They've come out and said that.
Yeah, because what was happening, a lot of the advisors, including us, were saying, just give yourself a bonus. Give the employees a bonus, right? People were out there on the front lines. They're inconvenienced. Pay them hazard pay. Amazon paid everybody in Amazon hazard pay. It's appropriate. Makes sense. What they don't want happening is I hired my child who's stuck at home from college, and they've never worked before, and they get a $50,000 pay. They don't want that, right? You can certainly hire your child. You can certainly put them to work. Just document it. Brian's favorite word, CYA, and make sure they actually show up for work. They clock in, all that kind of stuff. That's not a problem. You can hire them. You can hire your spouse. Just make sure they're working and make sure it's a reasonable salary. If you normally pay bonuses at Christmas time, maybe you should pay a summer bonus. There's just nothing wrong with that. And SBA has clarified it, so that's awesome. Okay. Chrissy, is this another? Okay, do all those bullet points that were just passed apply to all businesses or just the restaurants and those who are highly impacted? Fabulous. If Chrissy can tell us who she's with, that would be helpful. What do you think? What do you think, Steve? Just restaurants or anybody?
Yeah, my interpretation, Glenn, is it applies to all businesses. My point was it'll specifically help the restaurants and the personal care services, but as far as I know, it does apply to all businesses, unless Matt's going to tell me something differently.
Okay, what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I will defer to Steve. He is able to interpret that better than I can. So yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything that specifically says either way.
That's good. I think that's right. One of the reasons Steve is knee deep in this is he's a banker, And guess who has to check all this stuff that you're going to send in to make sure it's right and sign off? It's going to be the bankers. So that's why he has to know. Okay, Arlia Hoffman. Let me think. Let me see. Oh, True Fit Marketing. So Arlia, can we go through what the PPP loan forgiveness form application form? Can we go through the form, right? I have the form, but I want to make sure I fill it out correctly. Or is it too early because there might be changes between now and the next 3 weeks of my 8 weeks? Fabulous question. I'm going to tell you what I think, and then I'm going to let Steve and Matt chime in again real quick because we're doing good. I think you shouldn't even attempt to do that form right now. You don't have to. In fact, you don't even want to until the end of the period. You want to be accumulating all of your information along with the documentation. That's important. You have to document everything as well as pay it. So for example, if it's payroll, you're going to have a payroll record to go along with the record of the checks. If you pay rent, you're going to have to give your bank a copy of your lease agreement because they have to check to make sure that it was in effect before February 15th. If you make up a lease after the fact and you backdate it, you probably committed fraud. So just be really, really, really careful with this stuff. You can pay interest on a debt that existed before February 15th, but you can't create a debt after February 15th to make up the interest kind of thing, right? It all makes sense, but people will get real cute here, okay? So it is too early. There will be changes between now and the next 3 weeks of my 8 weeks. So I would just hold the phone on that, Arlia. Again, if anybody needs to contact us after the fact and get clarification, we're happy to do that. Okay, Katrina, oh, thank you. My business is an S Corp and we pay ourselves as owners with all as W-2 income. There are places it refers to owner employees in the PPP forgiveness. If we are not a partnership, LLC, or self-employed, but we are an S Corp where we pay ourselves all on W-2, we are not considered owner employees and don't have to deal with those additional limitations or rules. Wow, this is a loaded question. Again, you guys are impressing me with your detailed knowledge. First of all, owner employees are disadvantaged. Okay, we kind of talked about this last time. Unfortunately, for some strange reason, owner employees are just, I don't get it. They're disadvantaging the largest group, which are Schedule C filers, right? Most businesses Schedule C, not S, not partners. But they're hitting partnerships, single member LLCs, or self-employed. Okay, they have a worse deal, and we can talk about that if you like. But if you're an S Corp, you could have the same business as a Schedule C person and pay yourself salaries. You're exempted from that owner employee, limitation. It's my understanding. So you're right, Katrina. Right now, the way we understand it is that you're not covered by that. But everybody on the call that's either a partner in a partnership, an LLC member, or self-employed that is Schedule C filer, it's a problem. So, we can help you through that. And again, everybody can have 100% forgiveness. I have no question in my mind if you just have some guidance. Okay, BUU4 again. If someone is a sole proprietor paid on a 1099, how should they document their actual pay from the other employees' salaries and the other allowable expense? Man, so I have that problem. It's hard because A, we don't have guidance. B, we don't have clear guidance, let's just say it that way. B, the way you get the loan in the first place, as you know, probably from the person asking the question, is You took last year's 2019 Schedule C. So let's presume, for conversation's sake, that that was 100,000 or more. So you can only claim the 100. If for the period covered this year, so for the old 8-week standard, just stay with me here. I know it's longer now, but let's just stay with 8 weeks. If you make $15,385 or more, you claim $15,385. That's 2/12 or 8/52 of 100,000. If that wasn't too complicated, I can send you an email and explain it again. But it's the proportionate period related to 100,000. Okay. If you made less, like 50,000 proportionately, then it's 15,385 divided by 2. So that's about what? 75, 76, 50, $7,700. So if you made 7,700 in that period, then that's what you would claim because it's less than 100,000. Here's what's goofy. I don't know whether they're going to make everybody produce a schedule, a profit and loss statement for the period. Hope to goodness you got QuickBooks or something, right? That you can do that. Or you're going to have to hire your CPA to do another financial statement. They're already dying, getting through tax season. This is like another tax season. I don't know that answer. I plan to do a profit and loss statement for my covered period, my 8 weeks, which is now 24 weeks, and use that number. That's what I'm gearing it to. That's what I'm designing it around. If that is a large proportion of your loan forgiveness, that's going to be complicated and probably needs some planning help. Okay. Kaylin, I've talked to you before, Morale. When is the appropriate time to start the massive loan forgiveness application now that the timeline has changed? My payroll company, oh, I'm so sorry. My payroll company has offered to fill out the application for $500. Oh, that's very interesting. That's the first one of those I've seen. If it's going to be that painful, is it worth letting an expert fill it out? Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, so as far as the first question goes, and this kind of related to a previous question, I really do think that the SBA is going to change or amend the forgiveness application. So I think from that standpoint, I think it is smarter to wait closer to when your forgiveness or your utilization period of the money comes to an end. That way you're maybe not filling out 2 sets of applications. In regards to the second part of Kaylin's question, to me, if you're gonna pay an expert $500 to help you fill out the application, then that it's not a bad idea if they're going to help you get 100% forgiveness. I mean, if you're paying them $500 and you end up with 70% forgiveness, then I think maybe you've wasted your money. So I can see the benefits of letting an expert help you fill it out. Absolutely. But again, at the end of the day, as Glenn and I have said all along, the goal is to get to 100% forgiveness.
Yep. I would agree with Steve. Steve can echo this or not, but we are seeing evidence now coming out of clients and non-clients, CPA firms, payroll, people offering to help, right? Or being asked to help, that you would assume would know what they're doing. I would assume they don't know what they're doing. I would be careful to investigate the person's knowledge, okay? Because this is very specialized area. It's very complex. It is not simple. It's hard and it's complicated and it keeps changing. So filling out the application form is kind of the easy part. What is hard right now is what is even included, what is not included. Can I include this? Can I include that? Look at all the questions we have. This is the problem. Those are what we call tactical questions. How does it work in detail? There's another level, Brian knows this from his military background, called strategic. In other words, if you drop the very best bomb on the enemy, but you missed because you don't know where they are, or you didn't use the strategic approach, then you just wasted a bomb, okay? I think what's happening is we're gonna drop a lot of bombs in the wrong places and waste people's money. Steve, what are we seeing already out there as the quote unquote acceptable miss rate, or the leaving the money on the table and still paid it as a loan rate? Do you mind discussing that?
Yeah, the sense that we get is that a lot of folks that are selling systems to banks are expecting that 20 to 25% of your loan will not be forgiven. That's what they're basically telling banks. Is that, hey, look, we'll put this automated process in for you, and 20 to 20, it'll be quick, it'll be easy, but 20 to 25% of your loan won't be forgiven. From numerous vendors that I've spoke with, that's what they're throwing out there.
Yes. So let's think about this a second, you guys. If I go to the dentist, that sounds like the dentist, right? Oh, it'll be quick, it'll be easy, no problem. Oh my gosh, that really hurt. So if you're going to spend the $500, that's one thing. If they miss because they're not doing this part by 20% or 25%, you can do the math. We have a client that went to their CPA firm. That's great. $100,000, rounding off, $100,000 loan, PPP loan. The accountant calculated it for them for forgiveness, and he came up with $78,000. I couldn't believe it. He's leaving $22,000 on the table that they have to pay back. I said, he's charging you $22,000 because it should be $100,000. It's easy to get to 100 for a lot of businesses, really hard to get to 100 for some. So if your accountant, if your payroll service is not able to get you to 100, they're charging you the difference, if that makes sense. Once you send it in, you're probably stuck. I don't know if there's going to be an amended form available. There wasn't one for the loan application process. So I would be very careful. So in this case, if they spent $500 with their accountant, they would actually be spending $22,500. If it was done properly by somebody who knew what they were doing, it would cost $500. That's a huge difference, huge difference. It would be worth paying somebody $1,000 to get it done right, in other words. Christy, landscaping business in California. Oh, good. Our California folks are back. I love this because they're up early. It's close to 8. Good morning. Can one of our employees cash out his 2 weeks vacation pay? This is allowed in our handbook. When I submitted our P&L for the loan, the person approving it said that I could only submit for the vacation time that was used last year by our employees. I had originally put in the loan application what our employees had left to use. The bank came back and said I could only include what was used last year. This amount the employee is asking for, 2 weeks of his vacation paid out, will exceed the dollar amount I put in my PPP loan application. I hope this makes sense. A little complicated, but I'm going to read between the lines because everybody else will be dying to know, what the heck you're talking about. Your payment of expense does not have to match what you applied for. In fact, it's not going to, right? So last year, 2019, nobody talked about hazard pay. Nobody talked about protective equipment reimbursement pay. Nobody talked about paying December bonuses in June, right? Because it wouldn't have made any sense. Like, what would you be doing that for? That's all we're talking about right now. So as long, again, as Steve cautioned us, according to the SBA guidelines, and this is more technical than I can answer on the call, but I'd be happy to do it if you'll email us, is I would think that you can pay your reasonable vacation pay. You're just speeding it up a little bit, right? It has to be within reason. It has to be defensible. I call it the, could you say that with a straight face defense? Okay, that's really the time to think about it. Okay, we're doing good. We're gonna be fine. Kim, hi Kim, Spirito at the cleaning company, right? I really like the idea of using 100% of the loan for payroll. Well, thank you very much, because I do too. And I think Steve does too, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy, it's clean. The bank will kiss you as you come in the door and give you an extra lollipop. I've already put 75% of the loan in my payroll account. And I have already transferred 2 lump sums to my checking where I pay bills to pay rent, utilities. Is there a way I can use this all for payroll after the fact that I started paying these other bills? Absolutely. 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 That's a great idea, Kim. Your life will be easier. You know, the money isn't earmarked. Those bills aren't earmarked, right? They don't have a little only for rent sign on $20 bills. So you can spend it wherever you want. Just make sure it's documented that it's all for payroll. So Kelly, maybe your real name is Kaylin. Now I'm wondering, Morial. But Kelly, I talked to her on the phone. We had a nice conversation. Thank you for your expertise and much value time. That was very kind. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, Brian, Kelly, we're doing good, buddy.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Glenn. I really appreciate it. We're getting to that point, so we'll go ahead and close it out for this week. I do want to say again, thanks to Glenn and his accomplices, Steve and Matt. You know, it's sort of evolved, and now we got several experts from several different levels, and we really appreciate their expertise. And we had some great questions today. So
Awesome.
yeah, this is really cool. I will mention that Kelly will be sending out a survey. That survey is really important because it really can tell the direction that you want to go as we look at our next update next Friday, June 5th at 10 a.m. So feel free to anywhere in those comment sections to put some ideas in there that you were looking for, and we'll take a look at those. So we take a look at those surveys. So it's really important. So feel free to.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes, sir.
About that? So be as honest and frank with a smile as you can with the survey. Aim all the bullets at me. I can handle it. I'm a big boy. Be gentle with Brian. Be gentle with Kelly. Be gentle with Steve. Be gentle with Matt. They're working for free. I'm working for free too, but it doesn't matter. It's the payment is the thank yous, right? So we appreciate the thank yous. However, I've said this before. If you are not a member, Brian would be happy, Kelly would be happy to accept your grateful membership payment. You're crazy, you guys. You're crazy if you don't join the chamber and send the, what is it? What's the little tiny amount that you charge? Did you change it already, or it's the same tiny amount?
Oh, it's now $10,000 because we
okay. You got smart, didn't you?
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
how much
it ranges basically from 165 to our maximum of 300, and that's an annual investment. So that's for the whole year.
Right. So if it was really sucky from here on out, they could just cancel, and it would be, the pain would be over from now into the future. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So Kelly's $500 investment, You probably don't have to pay it because we'll help you through it for free. And your 165 to 300 will be the substitute. There's no reason that people in California can't join, right? Brian, you're accepting a special California rate.
Absolutely.
Is there a surcharge for out of state?
No surcharges.
Is there a discount?
We'll talk. I know Chrissy and I were going back and forth the other day. We didn't get a chance to chat, but so we're gonna chat with Chrissy. We appreciate her
Good.
thoughts out there in landscaping. In fact, it was funny because she's out in the Modesto area, and I spent my airplane training out there for the Air Force, and used to hang out at the Modesto Mall. So it was good. And I also see Pamela Broadhead is planning on joining, and Pamela, I'll definitely follow up with you. So
that's awesome. I
think
think what we should do, what does everybody think? I think instead of offering a discount, because it's clearly worth it more than what we're charging, is we'll give you a deal. We will give you a discount if you bring somebody else on, kind of like a BOGO thing. And that way we can expand the word and give you a little thank you gift at the same time. So if you bring somebody in and they get their membership, we'll give you both a discount. I'm not speaking for the chamber because I'm a member and not an executive or anything official, but I would think that would be a really cool idea. But that's just my idea. Okay. Thanks, guys.
sounds good. Just to clean things up here, we are open. We are working remotely for the most part. So if you need to get us, our email is info@ptcoc.org, or you're welcome to call us at 724-941-6345. Make sure you check out our new Peters Township Chamber Community Support Facebook page and our website, which will have the recordings up there. You're welcome to share as well. Again, thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Matt. And thanks, Steve, for your words today. And hopefully we'll see you all next Friday at 10 a.m. So stay well, my friends, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Thank you.